Good Thursday. Welcome everybody today. We have a special session today. We're going to meet a special person and you'll get a chance to ask some questions and talk a bit. My name is Jim Norris. Previously with NWC, two new companies, Entertainment Marketer and Entertainment Spotlight are the companies that I'm involved in now. Just all digital. We've been involved with CITT for I'm thinking about 15, maybe 20 years, long time, and been a promotion partner as well with EXPO-SCÈNE and Rendez-vous for as long as they've existed. So, and we've been very lucky to go to Montreal every year, to go to EXPO-SCENE. I love Montreal. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Hopefully we'll see a lot of you there. So just a few notes. This is the reason we're doing this is because Jackie's relatively new to this organization and the show, and so we thought this would be a great time to get to know a bit about her background, ask some questions, see where CITT is going, learn more about CITT, and then for questions, you can put any questions you want into chat, but we'll probably open it up so we can see your smiling faces and hear your voices later as well. This will be recorded. It is being recorded. And after we're done, you'll get an email with a link just in case you didn't see all of this. And we'll send it to the people that didn't make it as well for people that registered. Website for CITT is pretty easy, www.citt.org. So you can find the information there on the organization itself and also on the upcoming events, which we'll talk about a little later as well. Okay, so just write that on your forehead or on the wall, and it's pretty easy to find as well. If you just Google CITT, you'll find them. So it's pretty simple. So I'm going to have Jackie do a little intro bit here just for a minute, and then I will start with some questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Jim. As Jim mentioned, my name is Jacquie Lazar, and I use the pronoun she, her, and elle. Today, we are in a virtual setting, and so we are participating from various locations across the country. I am in Innisfil, Ontario, which is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. I acknowledge that I am a settler on this land, and that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and I thank them for generations of stewardship. Innisfil is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as a settler, I am grateful to have the opportunity to work and live on this land. And I invite everybody to put in the chat which traditional territory or treaty you are from. And thank you for that, Jim. And over to you for a question, whatever questions you may have. It's nice to be here. It's nice to see some familiar faces. And don't be shy to turn your cameras. And when it comes to question time, please tell me your name and where you're from so I can get a sense of who is who. That'd be great. Thanks, Jim.
Excellent. So first off, we're going to go way back in time, not nearly as far back as I go. I've been in this industry for 45 years now. So I think I've got Jackie beat a little bit, but if you can go back a little bit and just explain how you got into the production, the theater business. How did you decide to go to York University, and how did all that start when you were a little one?
Yeah, so I think like so many folks that are in the industry, I was always interested in theater, and I did many a show on a cafetorium stage in high school, and that's really where things started. I had no idea that you could go into this industry until a drama teacher told me that I should do that that this was an option, and I had no idea. And so they were the ones that helped me see that path, and I took that path and I applied to a few universities. And as you say, I went to York University, and that is where I have my degree from. And yeah, and that kind of just sparked everything. So I went to York. In my career, I was a front of house manager, a usher, a concession person, and then sort of worked my way up to be a technician, an ATD, a TD, and a venue manager ultimately. And now I am here. I mean, it's a little more, it's a little more detailed than that. There's a lot of great experiences in there, but that's sort of the short version. I worked for 5 seasons at Young People's Theatre way back when, as a head electrician. I was at St. Michael's College School and St. Andrew's College School as the TD and the theater coordinator, and helped to open up the new space at St. Andrew's College School when they built their new theater. Was at York University for about 6 years as the performance facilities manager there. And then obviously did a lot of production management and TD work as a freelancer and a technician. Worked at Wonderland for 2 seasons as well, just as I was coming out of university on their special event stage, and as a venue technician as well in their venue. I don't even know what it's called anymore. At the time, it was owned by Paramount, so I have no idea what those stages are called anymore, but that's where I was. So it's sort of a short history. Yeah.
Did you find when you first started way back in the olden days that it was unusual for a woman to be doing those kinds of jobs, like in a lot of careers?
Not when I first started, for sure. There was many times that I would be the one of few females on the deck doing the work. And so that was a standout for sure. I would say things have obviously changed. And even then there were other women on the stage. It just wasn't as prevalent as sort of the males that were on the stage. So yeah, I definitely experienced that. I definitely been on a crew full of, the only female there, leading a bunch of folks on a load-in. So that's been a very interesting experience for me. I've had some really great experiences, and I've had some really, really tough days and experiences in that role, for sure.
For sure. One of our initial editors was a female, and that's when we started Professional Sound. And she used to go out on, some of the gigs and be dealing with all the technical male staff, and they they kind of looked at it, and she weighed maybe 80 pounds soaking wet. So they looked at her and thought, oh my God. But Shauna was just, it didn't faze her in the least. She was out there hauling gear and doing what she had to do, because they didn't realize she'd also worked, as on the road crew before, aside from being editor of our magazine. So it kind of, she got their respect because she wasn't afraid to do anything, regardless. So I think, and as you say, it has changed a lot. But there's still, there's still some people that don't give people their credit, that's for sure. But that's good. You've done really well. So in some of your positions, you were electrician. Where did you get that? Like, by electrician, where did you get that training? Was that at York, or did you work for Ontario Hydro, or where did you get that electrical training?
Well, it's not like the same as, like an actual electrician. I was a head electrician at a theater, but it came through learning at York, but also just a lot of hands-on training and having some really good mentors while I was coming up through university, but also on the sites themselves. So, loading in and loading out and running the shows, having some really good mentors and learning on the job was really a big part of it. I always enjoyed the lighting aspects. Sorry, audio folks, deep respect for audio and costuming and everything. I can't mix a show at all. So deep respect there. Just lighting was the thing that I happened to enjoy the most. And then I just had an affinity for electrical things, and I liked plugging stuff in and running power and being part of that design process as well, from the lighting aspect of things.
And obviously a lot of focus on safety in that part of the world.
Yeah, again, it's interesting. It's like as I was leaving the York, that was sort of when we were starting to see that whole shift in terms of getting fall arrest and that sort of training and lift training, and having that actually as a card. And so that wasn't the case as I was starting university, but as I left, that became much more prevalent. And so, yeah, I would say then my whole career was very much focused on, not only just being a technician, but doing it safely and in safe environments.
Yeah, super important. One thing that's changed a lot, we've been in the lighting business for quite a while, but one thing that's changed so much is the gear and the equipment that's available. And it's unbelievable, actually, when you look at it. And we go to LDI and some of these shows, and I just love, especially the video stuff, but all the lighting is amazing what's happened with it. And the number of suppliers, it used to be that there was 2 or 3 in the old days. And now, God, there's so many people that make moving lights and all the different equipment. It's pretty amazing how much it's changed, and more accessible too. It costs less money than it did 20 years ago.
Depends on the product. I mean,
That's true. That's true enough.
depends on the LED mover that you want, or yeah, I agree. I think it's, obviously my past 6 years have been in management, and so I've lost that sort of hands-on touch of the equipment. But what I was seeing when I was at York, and and with the technicians and the staff that were working there, and things that we discussed was, you're a technician, but you're also, in a lot of these roles, you also have to be like an IT person. So you're not just working with lights and sound. You also have to understand what an IP address is and how that ties into your iPad, and how does that network with, all the gear on the stage. And so it's also being this understanding the computer side of things now, and not just, running a DMX cable or a power cable and plugging it in. It's actually much more complex. And the same side would go for sound as well. It's a lot more complex than I think people realize, for sure.
For sure, absolutely. And what you were just last week, you were just in lovely Seattle at USITT. Just any comments on that show? What was the feeling? Was it positive? Was it a good show?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was so I was my first time at USITT. I've never had the opportunity to go before. So it was great. I was invited by their executive director, Laura Lee Everett, who, by the way, is the first female executive director that they have ever had. So that
Wow.
was a really inspirational note. I sort of feel like that was hung over the air of USITT. There was this very positive, sort of inspirational feeling throughout the building. And so that was great. And for me, it was very busy. There's a bit of a write-up on the website about, the things that I did, but I really got an opportunity to meet some of our members, especially our members that are from the BC side of things, which is hard, obviously, to do when I'm in Ontario. So I was really glad that I was able to go over to Seattle and meet some of those folks, but then also meet some of our partners, like Oistat and Behind the Scenes and ESTA and all those folks as well, and just putting faces to names. So it was a lot of me shaking hands and meeting people, and also, saying hi to vendors that are members and some that are not, and just putting our name out there. It was a fun time, though, for sure. And the conference can be overwhelming, USITT. There's a lot going on in 4 days. And so I was definitely feeling that sort of sense of overwhelming
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Most trade shows and conferences are kind of like that. And that USIT is kind of a medium-sized one. It's not really huge. But when you go to NAB's about 3 weeks away, and that one is just crazy.
Yeah.
It's such a huge show. And what about, did you get a chance to look at some of the products at USITT, some of the new gear that's out there?
Some of it, but a lot of more of my focus was meeting with folks and taking some meetings and networking. So I didn't see as much of the product as I think I would have, in future, when I have a little less meeting to do and a little more walking around and checking out the gear. I know that is it ETC just put out somebody, I can't remember, and I don't want to get the manufacturer or the person wrong. Somebody is putting out a brand new mover that's quite light and small, and cost effective, but somebody in this chat will probably know better who was there, who that was. But that seemed like a very interesting product. But there's lots of amazing new things out there. It's so many to list, so many to list.
That's great. And I guess, was there much talk there about what everybody went through in the pandemic, and just glad to be out of it and back at work again?
Yeah, I think, the folks that we're talking to are just talking about, just returning from the pandemic, feeling like the maybe things are just getting back to normal, or that we're still trying to get back to some sort of normal. So for sure, that was part of the conversation. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So now, whole new position, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us about that. I guess what your responsibilities are and what your feeling is about it. I guess it's excitement and fear and all kinds of different things being in that position with a fancy new title.
Yeah, I think that, it's all the same things that Monique, the outgoing national coordinator, did, just with a new title and maybe a little more responsibility. But it's, a lot of the same thing. It's running the day-to-day operations for CITT, ICTS, obviously coordinating with the board and the staff about our events, Rendezvous and EXPO-SCÈNE, and, making sure that members are taken care of, and we're monitoring that. So a lot of the same things, again, just a different title that's more reflective of sort of what this role is. And it's exciting. It is definitely a lot for folks that don't know on the call. I only started in January 22nd, so I'm not even into 3 months. I'm still just past the 2-month mark. So obviously I'm still learning about some of the processes and day-to-day operations. In fact, I've never been to an EXPO-SCENE, so this will be my first one. So I'm excited about that. I've been to many Rendezvous, many a swag bingo night, for sure. And so it's just about learning those processes and getting to know some of the people who are our partners and are, and that have been with the organization for many years, and introducing myself. And so, yeah, it is a lot right now. I am super excited, though. I wouldn't have taken the role if I wasn't excited about it. And I am excited. I really love getting up every day and doing this job. I'm really lucky, and I feel really, really lucky and blessed that I was, the board put their faith behind me. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Good stuff. Yeah, once you get to EXPO-SCENE, that makes it's a great show. Very well done. I deal with Monique and Marie Laure all the time, and they do, and them and their crew do an amazing job. So you've got good mentors there, I think, coming in, which helps. They've done the show for all those years. They've got some good staff. It's been really successful. So I think, all of that helps. And I think the other thing too, down the road, as you get to go to some of the other shows like LDI and Infocom or whatever, whatever's on your travel arrangements, that's also really educational as well. Because some of those, they're not huge shows, but they're bigger than the shows in Canada. But the thing with EXPO-SCENE, and I'm going to let you talk about it more, but it has a Quebec flair that it's like I was watching a thing on Vegas the other day, and they were talking about Cirque du Soleil, and they were calling it Canadian, and I felt like saying it's not Canadian, it's Quebec. In that case, Cirque could not have come from Ontario or anywhere else. Just the amount of creativity and the execution as well. So getting out, if you get the chance to go to some of those if you get a chance to go to Cirque, you just have to, because it's amazing. So moving forward, I guess, what do you see changing, or what do you see happening with CITT in the future?
So I think that there are a lot of things that the board and myself are looking at towards the future. Nothing is concrete right now, because the board and myself just met at the beginning of March. you know, to meet me, and for me to meet them in person and create sort of that relationship and ensure that we're all aligned on how we're going to move forward. And there's a lot of enthusiasm moving forward about where we would like to take CITT, ICTS, and the things that we would like to do. None of that is set in stone yet. And so I'm not going to put anything out there and then have us not reach those expectations, but know that there are definitely small changes that will be coming in the coming months. I think that members will start to notice. I'm not even sure people have even recognized yet that the social media presence of CITT, ICTS has already jumped up quite a bit. A huge shout out to Marie Lar for doing a lot of that work. But, you know, we're posting a lot more on LinkedIn, we're posting a lot more on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And so people that are new members are getting recognized, exhibitors and vendors are getting recognized as they join EXPO-SCENE in their booths. And we're also posting the job board, the jobs that are coming out on the job board are also going out onto social media. And so, I mean, that's a little thing, but it's definitely a change. I don't think we were as active before, and we are now. So that's one thing. I think there's a lot of other small changes that people will start to see in the coming months. I'm just going to leave it at that to kind of leave everybody in anticipation of what is coming, but know that there is a lot of enthusiasm. The board and myself are very excited about some things that are going to come down the pipeline. And, you know, we're really working towards ensuring that our members, that we communicate better with our members, that our members are heard. And that's a really big, point, is that we really want our members to feel seen and heard, you know, whether they're individual, organizational, sustaining, contributing, that they are heard and that we are listening and taking in their, you know, their ideas. Obviously, we can't do everything all the time. That's just not humanly possible. But know that if you submit an idea or a thought, you know, it will be listened to. We do, you know, I try to read and get through as much as I can on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that that's one of the big things that will definitely people will see moving forward.
Excellent.
Communication. Yeah.
I think from a member's point of view, the fact that you're moving into this position and you've got the on the ground experience, I think is a real positive, because, you know, the people that you represent and the members, you've done those jobs, you've been in the trenches. And I think that's really important, you know, representing what they do, because it's not easy. And certainly with the pandemic, it was catastrophic, pretty well, I guess you'd call it. So, so I think that's good. So let's just talk about EXPO-SCENE first, just because it's not far away. Believe it or not, it's 2 weeks. It's hard to believe, but maybe just talk a little bit about that, what you see, what you know is different this year. And if there's anybody watching this now or later that's not going, maybe you can, you know, mention a couple of things aside from the incredible food in Montreal, would give them a reason to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great lineup, actually. I think the Tech Talks are awesome. We got amazing vendors and exhibitors coming. And so it looks to be a really great EXPO-SCENE this year. For anybody that doesn't know, you can come for free. It's free to all attendees. So I think that that's something that's really exciting. And there are currently, we are tracking well over 1,000 attendees are coming. So that's amazing. We have over 70 exhibitors. And of those, 16 are first-time exhibitors. So there's some new faces, which I think is exciting for the attendees and for the exhibitors themselves. There's various tech talks. So we've got a tech talk, you know, about safety on outdoor stages. Janet Sellery from Event Safety will be there, and they're doing a live version of their event safety roundtable. Vectorworks is doing a session. Event Freight Logistics is going to talk about event freight logistics, touring a show and the logistics of that in terms of putting stuff in a truck. Unison Structures is talking about running events. And so there's a ton of really great wide variety of tech talks, including an insurance conversation, you know, an insurance tech talk about why do you need insurance and why is it important, which I think is, you know, I think people think is boring, but actually not, because stuff gets stolen or ruined in weather, and how do you cover yourself? And so there's tons of really great tech talks that are happening on top of the amazing exhibitors that we have. And it's April 10th and 11th. So it is very soon. And it's I think it'll be really, really good this year. I'm really looking forward to going myself and experiencing it for the first time. So anybody that's going, please come and say hi. I will be around. I may not be at the CITT booth, but I'll definitely be on the floor. If you can't find me, come look for me. I'd be happy to say hello to everybody. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to go and check it out and partake in some of the tech talks and sessions. And I know that Gear Audio is also doing they have a studio as well, and they have a bunch of tech talks as well on a variety of sound subjects. So there's lots going on.
That's for sure. And the other thing, I think that, well, one thing that's important on the opening night for exhibitors, they do have a cocktail party, which is one of the highlights. But the other thing I think to keep in mind is it is Montreal. Montreal's got incredible culture, some of the best food in the world, and where the Palais de Congrès is right downtown. It's walking distance from old Montreal. You just go up the hill, there's the cathedral. So it's an incredible city. So it's not, the event's great, but at night there's great restaurants, lots to do, lots to see. Hopefully the weather, it looks like it's going to be okay. It's been a variety over the years. But it looks like it's going to be okay. So getting there is pretty easy. I mean, you can fly, of course, you can drive, depending where you are. The train is amazing.
Yeah, I'll be on the train. I'm taking the train in from Toronto. So that's how I will be taking the train to get into Montreal. Yep.
Yeah, train's great. You can eat there, and the bar opens at 11 Ontario time. So yeah, it's good that way. It's not far, and you get to see all your compatriots in the industry. And then not that far behind it, in August, we've got the next rendezvous moving out west. Maybe you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and just before I do that, I just threw the link into the EXPO-SCENE, the link to EXPO-SCENE in the chat if anyone's looking for more details about the tech talks, exhibitors, as well as we have discounted prices for the hotels and travel. So you've got a deal with Via Rail and Air Canada and a lot of the downtown hotels that have partnered with us, and thank you to them. They've really come through and have given really amazing rates for downtown Montreal to make it much more affordable for folks. And as you say, there's be a lot of networking as well. There's also the lounge that's sponsored by Solo Tech. And so, in between tech talks, or if you want to sit down and have a chat or network, you can sit at that lounge as well and have a chat. And like you say, I'm sure post events, post cocktails, if people want to go for another post cocktail, there's lots of places to go in Montreal. Like you say, vibrant nightlife and arts there. So yeah, it should be good times. Absolutely. And anyone wants to go for a drink with me on the, was it Monday, Tuesday, on the Wednesday night, happy to sit down and have a chat and a drink with somebody. Yeah.
So
yeah, rendezvous. Yes.
Yeah, Saskatoon, a little bit different culture.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. But I'm just pulling up the link here as well for a moment. Yeah, so rendezvous will be in August, as it always is, the 14th to the 17th. It is in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And I'm very much looking forward to this as well. We have an amazing committee out there that is super dedicated and very excited to be hosting Rendezvous, which makes me very excited. I'm feeding off of a lot of that energy that they're giving. The city of Saskatoon and Discover Saskatoon have been extremely generous to us and have been great partners. And, we have gotten a few grants from them to help support in some of the costs of Rendezvous. And so I'm thrilled with the excitement that Saskatoon is bringing. Persephone Theater will be doing most of the hosting in terms of that's the trade show floor, will be on their stage. A lot of the opening soiree will be in the lobby. And so a lot of the sessions will take place there so far. There will be some events taking place in a couple other venues, the Alt Hotel and the Remy. So details are still being sorted out, and there may be more venues added depending on how many sessions and
Excellent. So what
training sessions that we get. We are starting to working events for folks. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. I'm sure it'll come back to me in a moment.
Sure it will. So just before we get into the questions, oh, it says, I just want you to just talk about the opportunities in the live production theater industry as you see it for new people. I guess not only new people, people are already in it, opportunities to move on and move up, but also opportunities for new people that are just looking for a career, looking for something to do that they love. And maybe you could just talk about that, given your experience. It's obviously done very well for you.
Well, I don't know if that's luck or hard work. I feel like it's a little bit of a mixture of both. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and sometimes you just work really hard and the right person notices it. So I think it's a little bit of both for sure. I think right now there's a lot of opportunity. If you see, our job board on CITT, it's a constant, like we are constantly getting submissions for jobs in the theater and live entertainment industry. And so there's a lot of people looking. And I think a lot of that is because there's also a bit of a lack of skilled labor coming into the market right now. And so those that are here, there's a lot of work to be had. And so if you're a new emerging professional or a seasoned professional, you're looking to change jobs or come into the industry, there is a lot of work to have right now. And again, our job board has a lot of those job listings on it. And so I think there's a lot of potential. I also think that if you ask people, the industry is also struggling at the same time. It's kind of both, right? And I think but I think that it will turn a corner for sure. And in terms of getting your name out there, if you're new, I think it's different now than it was. When I came up, I didn't have Facebook or Instagram. There was no LinkedIn. And I think that those are part of how you network now versus when I was there. It was, come in person, do a networking thing, know somebody that's looking for, when I was a technician, it was, oh, I met so-and-so at this call at the Tarragon, and now they're going over to Pass Marai. And, oh, hey, Jackie, do you want to come work for us at Pass Marai? Because I saw that you knew how to hang a light over at Tarragon, and then you're over at Pass Marai doing a gig all of a sudden. It's a little bit, I think that's how it still works, but probably also with social media. So, I think for those coming in now, and I will talk specifically as somebody that was a hiring manager for 6 years at York University. For me, when I was hiring technicians at York, I was looking sometimes for somebody that had a specialty, but a lot of the times I was looking for a person of all trades that knew a little bit of everything and that was willing to take initiative and learn while they were on the deck or working. And I think that is really important, that having a wide variety of skills will get you in a lot of places. And that will help in a long way. And maybe I'm wrong, and someone, please feel free to argue that point with me. Happy to agree to disagree 100%. But that's sort of from my very hiring background at York, because we were running a rental house and it was a constant, we were running academics, but then we would turn into a rental house, at the end of the academic year. You need to kind of know a little bit of everything, right? I need you to know can you program a lighting show? Can you plug in a microphone and just get it on? It doesn't mean you have to mix the show. I get that that's a different skill set. We needed, that was sort of, we were looking a lot for that a lot of the time. And so I thought that was something that I noticed quite a bit. that, please just, if you're new, please, 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 again, this is coming from a hiring manager point of view, please show up on time and like, please show up to your interview. I found a lot of people, we were struggling. I struggled with that a lot. Please show up on time. Please just have initiative. I can, many, many people can teach a hard skill if you have the right initiative and right attitude. But what we can't necessarily teach is the soft skills, so interpersonal. So I need to, there were times that I would almost rather hire somebody that was underskilled, that had better interpersonal skills than somebody that was overskilled, and then I couldn't leave them on the deck with a client because that might have brought in some problems. This is like actually just me now talking as a hiring manager, and has nothing to do with anything else. But that is sort of my take on things.
Excellent. And if somebody is looking for a new career in this industry or looking to advance themselves, if you're serious about it, you really should be at these next two CITT events, because that's where you're going to meet people. That's where you're going to learn. You're going to go to the tech talks. Because there's also the other end of it. Aside from actually working in the theater, there's jobs in the supplier side,
Yes.
and in with companies like Solotech, and I mean they're all at those events. So get down to the train station and get there. That's the only way you're going to meet people, not just sitting in your bedroom somewhere. So I'm going to
Oh, sorry, Jim. Yeah, that's a good point. And I was gonna say too, that what I noticed at at USITT, and you're talking about, not just theater, but cruise ships are hiring. Like there's a ton of people that need work or that are hiring, that are from the cruise industry. Like you say, installers, manufacturers. I think that that's what's important, is that the industry just isn't just, technicians. It's a whole wide range. And whether you're emerging or a seasoned professional, it's looking to change jobs, right? Somebody, you want to do something different and you're a technician, a TD, and now you want to be an installer, right? These are the events where you can meet those folks and maybe make that career shift. And the other thing I remembered I was going to say about Rendezvous, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget this time, is that if anybody is interested in doing a session, please, we have a call for sessions out right now. I put the link to Rendezvous in the chat, and you will find our call for sessions on that site. And please, or session proposals. So please submit so we can potentially hear a great session by one of our members or non-members who have a great session as well.
Excellent. At the LDI show in December, there was about 5 or 6 of the cruise lines there, and they were very much looking for technical people, because what you see on those cruise ships, it's not like the Love Boat anymore. They have, huge line arrays and all kinds of lighting equipment, and they need the people. So I wouldn't say they were desperate. They were pretty eager, though, to talk to people to work on the cruises. And obviously the cruises were affected by COVID as well, but now they're booming, and not a bad career to be out on a cruise, doing your job. Can't say that's a terrible thing to be doing. Okay, so let me just make an adjustment here. There we go. Okay, so we got all kinds of smiling faces here now. So you should be able to unmute yourself. Hopefully that's the case.
Or the questions or put your question in the chat if you don't want to speak. That's also fine,
Yeah.
right, Jim? Right? I can see what's happening in the chat as well.
Okay, so yeah, do you want to start with that? Any questions that are in the chat?
I don't think there's anything there now, but
Okay.
I think a lot of folks are putting where they were from, which is amazing. And that's all I can see right now. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if there are any questions for me. Otherwise, it's gonna be a very short webinar or Zoom chat. Oh, any questions about CITT? No? People are quiet.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. everybody's used to being behind the scenes, I guess.
Okay, so
I've got a question.
Almost there.
there we go.
Mimi, go first.
Did you go first? I was gonna ask if there was any plans of cleaning up the mentorship program and working forward on that.
Okay, so I heard mentorship and working
Towards that.
working towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been in discussion for sure. I think, again, I know that was, again, still trying to learn what that program was and how that was funded. It was funded by a grant, and from what I heard was a very successful program. It is definitely something that has been in discussion and that we are looking at in the future. How that's going to be deployed or how we do that is what we're trying to figure out at this point.
Next question.
So there was a visioning session a few years back prior to the pandemic that had happened to kind of lay out the direction for CITT going forward. And one of the major focuses on that, as far as I understand, was education. Now, we can always put programming on ourselves as part of the membership and stuff, but what is CITT looking to do to, we've obviously brought up the issue of training and such, especially at a post-secondary level. Is CITT looking to move towards anything in helping that pipeline out of training at post-secondary level, or guiding competency charts with the human resources thing like we used to have, and getting those updated?
Yeah, so like I said, the board and myself, and the board has also just gone through a restructuring at the beginning of March. And in fact, that strategic, if it's the same visioning plan, I don't know, that you were discussing, was what we're using to sort of look at towards, does that still align with CITT, ICTS, and does it still align with what's happening in the world in general from when that vision and strategic plan was put forward? Some is yes and some is no, right? Because the world has shifted so much, obviously, since 2020. And so to your point, yeah, I mean, I think that education is important, especially for our newer actually, I think education is important for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're emerging professional or a seasoned professional. I think keeping up your skills is as important as learning the skills in which you need to keep up as you progress in the industry, right? I think that those are two very important things. To be honest, I don't think that we've talked about in terms of it post-secondary or being or aligning ourselves with that. I think it's a really interesting point. I feel like this was a discussion I had with somebody at USITT as well in terms of, post-secondary, but I hear you. And I think that education is important. So I'm going to make that note and bring it forward and have that discussion with the board. In general, for me, I would like us to see us, try to do as much more training as we humanly can, again, with the resources that we have and the partners that we have. That is something that I think the board and myself would like to move towards as well, to keep our membership engaged, but also up to date and all of those things, because things change. So, but I'm just going to make a note about the post-secondary. So thank you for that. And I didn't catch your name. Sorry. Sean, was it Sean?
Yes, Sean.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Mimi, for your first question as well. I appreciate that.
So any other questions? Don't be shy. A quiet group.
Yeah, it is quiet.
So there we got somebody. Crystal.
I'm just curious the differences between Rendezvous and EXPO-SCENE. We talked a little bit about it on the floor, but in a less stressful, less noisy environment, as a potential exhibitor, I'd like to know a little bit more about the differences between those two, and the kind of CITT's sort of mission for each, or if it's just purely a regional thing.
Well, part of it is, yeah, it's scope and scale, and then the type and the vendors that are there. Some of the vendors are the same between Rendezvous and EXPO-SCENE, but EXPO-SCENE is also encompasses a little more film and video than I would say Rendezvous does at the moment. Whether that changes in the future is to be seen. Again, it's like you say, Crystal, the region in which it's held. It's always held in Montreal and in Montreal. And Rendezvous changes cities every year. EXPO-SCENE, to be very fair, is really a trade show, with some networking and some sessions. Rendezvous is both, and I would say equally a trade show, but also a lot more sessions and training happens at Rendezvous than at EXPO-SCENE. And EXPO-SCENE is larger trade show. To be very fair, it is just larger. We're in the Palais de Congrès, and on Rendezvous, typically we're either on the theater stage or in a smaller sort of convention center or hotel floor. I think that again, Rendezvous, a lot more national, I think, attendees. Whereas I think in EXPO-SCENE, it's maybe a little more regional in terms of Montreal, Toronto, and some folks that will come from farther away, but a little more local, I think, rather than Rendezvous, where we get a lot more cross-section of Canada coming in from our members. And again, I would say probably, and this is me guessing a little bit, it's still new, Crystal, but I'm happy that you're here on this call. It's nice to, again, chat with you without the craziness of the floor. I just lost my train of thought now. Rendezvous. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. I just lost my train of thought there. But I think that those are the main things that, again, without having been to EXPO-SCENE myself, and having seen it in person, that I am taking from, seeing what's happening in EXPO-SCENE versus being a Rendezvous attendee myself for many, many years. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody
Again,
else?
yeah.
Anybody here want to ask about opportunities in the industry? Where to start, what to do first?
Just pulling up our job board. There's a lot of summer jobs being posted right now for anybody that's, looking, although a lot of people would have, it's already March. So yeah. There's a lot of jobs on the job board. I'm going to put this. And the job board, in case you're not a member, which you should be a member because we're awesome, is for non-members as well. So in case anybody doesn't know where to find that, I will put that in the chat. Do you know when the pricing? Oh, yeah. So I just see that somebody asked about the pricing and schedule for Rendezvous will be available. Yeah, it's in the works right now. We hope to, end of April, beginning of May, to put out some pricing and registration as well for early bird for the conference for members and non-members, and then follow that up with registration for exhibitors. However, prior to that, I am hoping to get a pricing done for exhibitors that want to be on the trade show floor. So that should be coming imminently. Thank you, Paul. Hopefully that helps.
Anything else, folks? I think Jackie's obviously covered it really well that's what I think when there's no questions, or not a lot of questions, but not a question. Okay, good. That's a good one from Matt. Embracing remote work.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point. And again, in case anyone hasn't put it together, I live in Ontario, as I said, in case anyone missed my land acknowledgement. I live in the town of Innisfil, which is a small little town, north of the city. And so part of the reason I was able to take this job is because it was not required that I moved to Montreal. Not that I don't love Montreal, but that's not where my family or my home is right now. And I need to stay in Ontario for personal and family reasons. So that was really a big, on top of the fact that I wanted this job, I would not have applied had I had to have moved. So I think making it remote definitely made it a lot more accessible to some folks. I hope. I have no idea how many people applied for the position, but it definitely like made me go, oh yes, I can do that if I'm remote and then traveling.
Yeah, it's a different world now for sure. A lot of people even running fairly large companies are working remote, and because it's, I'm working at home right now. I'm in what we used to call our sunroom, and now it's called my office. But it's not that different really. When I was at the office, most days you'd sit there all day. Hopefully you'd go to the washroom once in a while, and then you'd be on the phone or on the internet. And so, you'd see some people a little bit more maybe, but it's changed a lot now. And the thing is, in these industries too, what's normal is getting out and visiting people, and getting to trade shows, and something like EXPO-SCENE. You're going to meet more people there in 2 days than you would any other way. So it's changed. The world has changed, and there's a lot of people that work remotely. A lot of salespeople work really remotely. I mean, they're never anywhere for any time. They're on the road all the time with the proper tools and seeing clients. So it's changed. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would, and on the flip side of that, there's a lot of people that don't have that option, right? So I consider myself very lucky, and there's lots of folks again I'm sure in this call, who need to be in the theater every day, and I think like hats off to them. It's hard work too, and a lot of those folks were. I know that again at York, a lot of those folks were there during the pandemic, still running classes, and it was hard. And so not everybody gets that opportunity. And so hats off to everybody who gets up every day and travels to work and is in the theater or your work environment, for many, many hours. It is not always easy. So I appreciate that. And I understand that I am lucky.
For sure. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else?
Yeah, I see that Jonathan from I think I'm hoping it's Create. I'm hoping I pronounced that right, Jonathan. Can we chat at EXPO-SCENE? I actually wrote you an email this afternoon saying I'd love to connect with you. I think that we can help for sure, and I'm excited to meet with you.
Excellent.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, I think we're going to wind it up now. I think this is great. I'd like to thank Jacquie for her time, and definitely looking forward for that drink you promised me. And
Yeah.
You got to remember it's all recorded. So
Yeah. Oh, I said. Well, I promise. Did I promise you a drink? Okay.
I think you did.
I can buy you a drink, Jim. No problem.
That's my recollection of it anyway. So yeah, everybody, all the best in your career, and hopefully we have a booth at EXPO-SCENE as well. So come along and come around and say hi. And anything else, just send us an email and we'll take care of it. Have a good Thursday. Oh,